Hope you're all doing well. Today, I want to discuss this video that I stumbled across this morning. Erika Kirk, obviously the wife of the late Charlie Kirk, had something to say regarding family and the tendency that you see, especially with single women, for them to like support and vote socialistic or for socialistic candidates. And I want to talk about that a little in detail more just for this video, specifically because obviously she brought it up. But this is something that people in my camp, especially, have. I mean, we've been ringing the alarm on this. We've been talking about this extensively, and I'll give you guys my thoughts here in a bit. But let's just take a listen really quickly.
What I don't want to have happen is women, young women in the city, look to the government as a solution to put off having a family or a marriage because you're relying on the government to support you instead of being united with a husband where you can support yourself and your husband can support and you can guys all combine together. But I just find it so ironic
So
and so interesting that a heavy percent.
basically, she goes on. The video is going to cut her off here, but basically, she goes on about how, looking at the percentage of the people that voted for, I believe they were talking about the New York City mayor, there were like, single women. And I'll go a little further into, I guess, detail with this because obviously she's speaking in front of a bunch of people. She's not going to be able to go through a lot of the data. And maybe there is even some other things that even Erica might not be considering. But you've heard people talk about the last line of defense, especially guys that come from like the more Austrian economic line of thinking. Even on the Chicago side, obviously, Souls talked about this a lot. But the reason why, or rather, the last line of defense against the state is the family. Okay. If you want to know and you want to understand, especially as the American government has continued to grow, and one of their main points of attacks have been dividing the nuclear family, subsidizing dysfunction, that's with that's for good reason on their behalf because they want that power. They understand if they can make you reliant, dependent upon them, folks will look to obviously the government. They will be very, very protective of anything it is that they want to do. And this is why you cannot address the familiar, like the family issues that we have in this country without addressing the welfare state. You can't address the political landscape. This is why we talk about culture is so very, very vital, so very, very important. If you want to change the politics, it is not the other way around. Culture first, then the politics change by default. But so as long as they are able to, like, again, they're subsidizing this failure, essentially. That's what welfare state really encourages, especially with single motherhood. Obviously, we know that the court systems are fixed against, like, we can go into the weeds of that, but the bottom line is that the welfare state as it exists, which a lot of single women take advantage of, essentially says that the more dysfunctional you are, the worse of the decisions that you make. And this is not to say that it's not a, kind of, it goes both ways, obviously. So whether it be the male or the female that is involved, there can be crappy folks on both sides of that for sure. But it essentially says that if you're not on your shit, for lack of better terms, they will take care of you. Soon as you start being successful, soon as you start doing things that are just, that are righteous, especially by your family, they will strip all of that away from you. So this is why all of their policies, up, down, top to the bottom, the reason why they are as such is because they understand that the family is the last line of defense against the state. If nuclear families were one of those things that we prioritized in our culture, that was something that we held dear, that was something that was of importance, people would not be looking to the government to solve all of their issues as much. They'd be looking to their families. Wives will be looking to their husbands. The youngsters will be looking to their parents and such. And we would come up with these organic, solutions to whatever problems may arrive, not looking to this den of a bunch of thieves, this cathedral of criminals to try to get you out of the rut. When largely they helped aid in your destruction. This is something that I'm very, very, very passionate about. This is why I did everything that I could to do things the right way. I've been very, very open about even with my own family, right? And my eventually my parents did end up splitting, but when I was first had conceived, my parents were married. Both of them were working well, and it was kind of crazy to look at. My mother acknowledges this all the time, where once that split unfortunately happened, so I went from that lifestyle to now living with a single mother. That's when I started to be, let's say, a knucklehead, and you guys know my upbringing and such. But one of the things that my mother always emphasized is that, like, that she's tried to do it the right way. It didn't work out, and it should not deter me from trying to do it the right way. And even with my father splitting, it was never a case of her like spending a bunch of time like bashing him around me. That was not how I mean, it was obvious how she had felt about him there, but never went out of her way to like deter me. She wasn't one of those that walked around with this banner, "I'm a single woman, hear me roar" kind of situation, or I don't need a man. That was never her approach, because a lot of that had to do with her own upbringing, and with my grandfather and my grandmother, and how, again, family was just so very, very important to them. So she came from that, right? That was her and her siblings experience. So she was always driving in my head like, this is the correct way to do it. Didn't work out for me, but this is the correct way that you need to do it. And I'm blessed, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And it was awesome to hear kind of that being echoed, because you don't hear it being discussed enough. If you want to know why so many of these folks, especially these youngsters, are trending towards socialism and such, look no further than the absolute destruction of the family. And we have to talk about it. There's a lot that goes into that. I recognize that. I understand that there are cultural impacts there, that what came first, the chicken or the egg? People feeling, I could imagine being in a dating culture nowadays. So I totally understand. And this is why it's so important that we try to get on the right foot, and we try to address that culturally. Otherwise, the leftists win. The bottom line is the leftists win. If they can have the state play as basically a replacement for the father, but either way you look at it, nanny state, father state, whatever. If they can play mother and papa, that's what they're going to do, and they have you in the palm of their hands once that is solidified.